Our fire alarm did not tell us to leave the building. It told us to enter the basement. The door locked the moment the last tenant stepped inside. By the time we understood there was no gas leak, someone was already opening our apartments above us. This is the last broadcast files. I got home at 12:53 that morning after covering a late shift. Marston Court was a small brick building with 8 apartments, 2 floors, 1 front lobby, and a basement laundry room. There was no emergency shelter. There never had been. When I entered Unit 6, the first thing I noticed was the blackout curtain beside my balcony door. It hung several inches away from the wall, as if something had caught behind it. The balcony latch was turned halfway. I locked it, pulled the curtain flat, and went to bed without checking the narrow space behind it. 24 minutes later, every alarm in the building activated. A red light flashed above my bedroom door. A calm female voice came through the hallway speakers.
Attention residents. A dangerous gas leak has been detected outside the main entrance. Do not exit through the lobby. Follow the marked evacuation route to the basement shelter.
The message repeated. A sulfur smell was already entering beneath my front door. I looked through the bedroom window. Rain covered the street, but there were no utility trucks, fire engines, or emergency lights. Someone struck my apartment door 3 times and shouted that the odor was getting stronger. I pulled on jeans, a sweatshirt, and shoes. In the second-floor hallway, my neighbors were moving toward the rear stairs. Mrs. Vale from Unit 1 carried a small oxygen bag against her chest. Malik from Unit 4 held his phone above his head, trying to complete a call. Tessa from Unit 7 was barefoot under a winter coat. A green evacuation arrow had been fixed above the stairwell. It pointed down. The framed map beside it had also changed. A thick green route led from both floors into a room marked Basement Emergency Shelter. I had passed that map every day for 6 years. The route had not been there the previous night. I called 911 while following the others downstairs. The dispatcher asked whether anyone was sick or unconscious. I said no, then repeated the building's gas warning. She searched the address. There is no reported gas emergency at Marston Court, she said. I stopped halfway down the stairs. A man behind me told everyone to keep moving. He looked about 40 and wore a gray thermal shirt with dark sweatpants. He spoke quietly, almost like he was trying not to frighten a child. Outside gas can enter through the lobby vents, he said. The basement is safer until they shut the line. His right hand remained inside his pocket. I had never met every guest who stayed in the building, so I kept walking. At the basement landing, my call broke apart. The signal bars disappeared from my phone. The laundry room looked staged. The folding tables had been pushed against the wall. 8 metal chairs had been arranged beneath the red emergency lamp. There were 7 actual residents in the stairwell. The man in gray made 8. Tessa stopped at the threshold. Her inhaler was still on the table beside her bed. The man told her the fire door might seal automatically and that she could be trapped upstairs if she went back. I could still smell sulfur drifting down the stairs, so I took Tessa by the arm and guided her into the room. As her second foot crossed the threshold, the man pressed something inside his pocket. The door slammed behind us. A heavy lock struck inside the frame. The alarm went silent. Mrs. Vale pulled the handle. It did not move. The man said the door had sealed us away from contaminated air. Malik crouched and placed his fingers beneath it. Then why is there a draft? Nobody answered. We searched the room. There were no emergency supplies, no ventilation controls, and no landline. The narrow window near the ceiling had been covered from outside with black plastic. Tessa asked the man who he was visiting. He said, Unit 5. The woman from Unit 5 was standing beside him. She lived alone. The man changed his answer and said his friend lived in Unit 3. Unit 3 had been empty since a plumbing failure in May. Everyone moved away from him. Before Malik could reach him, the ceiling speaker clicked. Emergency crews have arrived. Remain calm. Do not attempt to leave the shelter. Behind the recorded voice, a man coughed once. Then came a short pause. The message ended. 1 minute later, it played again. Same words, same cough, same pause. Above us, a drawer scraped open inside Mrs. Vale's apartment. She knew the sound because the bottom of that drawer dragged against its frame. Footsteps crossed her living room and went directly into the bedroom. A cabinet door opened. Then another set of footsteps climbed to the second floor. Closets struck walls. Furniture shifted. Something with hard wheels rolled along the hallway above our heads. The man in gray said responders were checking each apartment, but they were not stopping at heaters, vents, or utility walls. They were opening the places where people hide things. Malik and I pulled on the basement door. The man stepped between us and said forcing it could let gas inside. He told Mrs. Vale to breathe slowly. He told Tessa that help was already there. He told everyone that panic was the only immediate danger. At the time, it sounded reassuring. Later, I understood that every answer was meant to buy the people upstairs another minute. Then Mrs. Vale pointed at his right ear. A clear plastic tube disappeared beneath his collar. Malik grabbed his wrist. A radio receiver and a thumb-sized transmitter fell from the man's pocket. A whisper came through the earpiece. Second floor. 3 minutes. The man lunged for the transmitter. Malik drove him backward into the chairs. The others held him there while I searched for another way out. The dryers had been pulled several inches from the west wall. Fresh scrape marks crossed the concrete beneath them. Behind the last machine, I found a square metal panel with 2 screws missing. When I lifted it, cold air moved across my face. A narrow service passage ran beneath the rear stairwell. Water pipes filled one side. A temporary cable had been taped along the other. The cable led in the direction of the lobby. The man in gray began shouting that the passage ran beside the gas line. There was no odor inside it. I took Malik's phone for its flashlight and crawled through. The passage ended behind a plywood access door beside the ground floor cleaning cabinet. Through a crack, I could see the lobby. 3 people in Navy maintenance jackets were moving through the building. Canvas bags stood beside the stairs, each marked with an apartment number. One held Mrs. Vale's metal cash box. Another contained Tessa's laptop and camera equipment. A person came down from the second floor carrying my locked document case. A laminated inspection sheet was clipped beneath one arm. Beside each apartment number were photographs of closets, desks, bedroom shelves, and storage cabinets. The sheet also listed the number of people expected to be home overnight. The recent safety inspection had not only changed the evacuation maps, it had shown them where everything was and how many chairs they would need downstairs. At the alarm panel, another person watched a countdown timer. A temporary control box had been wired into the basement door circuit. The cable beside me ran directly to it. The man trapped downstairs had not been placed there only to calm us. The transmitter in his pocket had locked the door after he counted everyone inside. I pushed the plywood panel open and stepped into the lobby. The nearest intruder saw me reflected in the glass entrance door. He shouted. I ran toward the alarm panel. Someone came down the stairs behind me. Their shoes hit each step faster than mine. The basement release switch had been covered with a plastic guard and secured by a metal clamp. A hand caught the back of my sweatshirt. I pulled the clamp loose, tore away the guard, and struck the release. The basement door opened with a heavy snap. Malik hit it from the other side. 7 residents came into the stairwell at once. The person holding me let go. The intruders abandoned the numbered bags and ran through the rear exit. One dropped my document case on the landing, scattering papers across the wet floor. The man in gray tried to follow them. Malik held him until police arrived. His name was Gavin Dorsey. He had posed as an assistant during a private safety inspection 12 days earlier. The badge he used had been copied from a real employee. A small, odorant canister beneath the lobby radiator had created the sulfur smell. The intercom warning came from a portable player connected inside the alarm cabinet. Investigators recovered 3 pieces of evidence that explained the rest of the plan. The original evacuation map had been hidden behind the replacement. The transmitter from Gavin's pocket controlled the temporary basement lock. The inspection sheet identified which apartments had been selected and where the crew expected to find valuables. Those discoveries explained how the building had been emptied and why Gavin had gone downstairs with us. They did not explain who started the alarm. The system recorded the exact detector used to send every manual command. At 1:17:08, the false evacuation had been activated through the smoke detector inside Unit 6, my apartment. The hallway camera showed 2 people in maintenance jackets leaving my unit at 12:49. I arrived 4 minutes later. The rear camera showed the 3 uniformed intruders entering again at 1:18, after the alarm had already begun. Gavin was already in the stairwell with the residents. Every identified member of the crew was accounted for. None of them could have activated the alarm from inside my apartment. 2 officers returned upstairs with me. My smoke detector hung slightly away from the ceiling. A thin programming cable ran along the top of the wall toward the balcony door. It disappeared behind the blackout curtain. An officer pulled the curtain aside. A narrow strip of carpet between the glass door and the wall had been pressed flat by 2 shoes. A wet print marked the inside balcony sill. Navy fabric fibers were caught in the curtain seam. The latch I had locked before bed was open. The 5th person had entered from the fire escape before I came home. They had stood behind the curtain while I locked the balcony door less than 3 feet away. After I went to bed, they connected the cable, waited until 1:17, and activated the alarm. Once the hallway was empty, they unlocked the balcony door from inside and left the same way they had entered. Police identified 4 members of the crew. The 5th was never found. For 24 minutes, the only person in Marston Court who knew the evacuation was fake was standing behind my curtain.